Hey, what's good, people? Welcome to the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I'm your podcast host, Dezi Abeyta. I'm a proud father, a proud husband, a Latino dietitian entrepreneur, and a high performance mentor. Tune in as we discover the habits and routines of gritty athlete and talented entrepreneurs while we provide the tools and insights to conquer your goals and experience those awe-inspiring moments where you say, I can't believe I made it. Hope you enjoy. Yo, what is good, high performers and can't believers? Welcome to another season and another episode of the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. I am your podcast host, Dezi Abeyta, and your high performance mentor. Man, it's been a little bit, it's been a while. I think dating back to January, I was in a space in season 7 where, and I told you all this, and to such of the largest extent, massive shout out to you. We're almost at 10,000 downloads since we first started this, which is such a huge milestone for us. I mean, you kind of know the story up to this point that I overthought this project for way too long. And for me, this was really just about my hero's journey. This is really for me seeing a need, not only in the lives of others, but mostly in my life, so that not only I can remain accountable to showing up as the healthiest version of myself, but truly working to overcome some of the doubt and some of all the things that come with that. And in so many ways, almost hitting this 10,000 mark, which we are going to hit this season, I have no doubt in my mind, is such a big win for us. So massive shout out to all of us in the Can't Believe I Made It fam. But, in season 7, I had said, I'm going to try to see how this works out. Back in June, dating back to almost a year from when my son was born, when I embarked on my Red Bull journey and really started repositioning some of the things that I was pouring into, and also noticing that I'm like, you know what? This podcast is something that I want to continue to pour into, and it's really important to me. And it seems like people are really starting to take to it. Like, I'm going to go in on this. I mean, I said to you that I was gonna tread lightly and do what I could. And so in season 6 and that transition to 7, I had made the commitment, hey, I know that you all are used to having 2 podcasts each week. We're going to go ahead and kick it back to 1, and I'm going to do the best that I can. Well, heading into January, I was noticing that I was pouring a lot into a lot of things, and a lot of overwhelm was happening. And I think it points back to a lot of the things that I'm teaching you all to do, which is to create systems for yourself where you can start thinking about longevity. Yes, the small wins are super important. They feel really great. In the short term, if you're able to perform at a high level, it feels really great to get those things done. But really what we're trying to do here is we're trying to increase doing things day in and day out to increase the trajectory of getting us to a place where we are truly living that bliss that all of us are really searching for. And so as January was coming along, I was like, you know what? I was doing podcast day of, and for a while there, like, I think what I really love about my strengths is that I can be consistent, but I can also be consistent almost in place of helping myself to be more still and to be in the moment. And I think I was getting to a place in January where I was like, you know what? I need some systems. I need a podcast manager. I need some things to help me to perform not only at a high level, but to pour into this podcast in a more authentic way. And so we took a couple months off, and I'm so excited about season 8 for so many reasons. But you guys, and for those of you who know me personally, and for those that don't, what is good? I hope that we will meet each other in person. I think a lot of the things that I really want for this podcast is to start having some in-person events. And so as we continue to grow, that's definitely on the docket. I don't know exactly when. It could be a 2023. It could be a 2024 thing. I don't know yet, but I'm going to take this piece by piece. But for those that know me, like, this is a big deal. Well, over the past couple months, we have been banking episodes and having some tremendous guests on. And so we actually have these episodes built out until the latter part of August, I think. And I think if I have that correctly, which is such a big thing, because then I can throw myself more into not only jumping into my Instagram stories or doing some more storytelling and things like that, but I get to promote the podcast in a way that feels much more authentic to me. Yes, jumping in on IG, providing a reel and doing some other things like this, getting some video footage of what you see here now. If you are viewing this on Spotify, which Now you'll be able to view the video because I have a podcast manager. What is good? Thank you, Savannah. But yeah, so in so many ways, I felt like this was really more of an authentic way of showing up for you all. And so we have until August of this built out. And over the course of this launch, I'm going to continue to make sure that we have some guests on. So as I'm filming this premiere, we actually have all of these episodes banked out. So I actually know up to this point which heroes we've had on and as our guests. I actually know what I'm talking about for some of these Monday mentorship episodes, which obviously this is one inside of our premiere. So I actually have these things built out, and I can tell you that it feels so great. But one thing has been coming up, and this is maybe why I probably just subconsciously wanted to wait for this premiere to see what the conversations were like. But I think the thing that hit me over the head was as I was having a lot of these athlete entrepreneurs on that have gone from this one thing that they thought they were going to do into this completely different thing that maybe they had been trying to avoid for quite some time, and then finally got the gusto to start showing up in the same way that, we did with this podcast, right? I was having a lot of these conversations with these talented and athlete entrepreneurs that I really, really loved. And I was like, you know what? Each and every one of them have gotten to a place in their hero's journey where the world that they were in, it didn't feel right. And there was this call that came in, this call to adventure, right? Joseph Campbell talks about it in the hero's journey inside of the, I think it's a 10-step guide, if you will, of what it looks like to go from this person to the call to the adventure, and then all the way to a point where you're coming back and you're delivering the message, you're delivering your life experience. And like, that's the goal, right? So I was having a lot of these guests on, and I'm like, wow, they all have something in common here. Like each and every one of them have, to one extent or another, had lived a life where they were like, you know what, there's a lot of telltale signs that I'm not on the path that I actually want to be. And this call has continued to happen. And finally, as I embraced the call, as I got mentorship, as I surrounded myself with the right people, the path started to illuminate much more. And I started to be much more comfortable with what it would feel like to be massively uncomfortable. And so they embraced the pivot. And so this season, that is going to be our theme, is embracing the pivot. So as I'm talking to you right now, you might be thinking to yourself, Des, what the hell is a pivot? And how do I know that I'm primed to make a small change in your life? And granted, let me also talk to you on the real. Change can mean whatever it means for you in your season of life. It can be a massive change towards your health. It could be a massive change in your career, in your relationships, in your relationship to how you handle stress, in your relationship to stillness, like whatever that is for you, right? Change is really on a spectrum if you think about it. So wherever you are inside of that spectrum, I think one telltale sign that I've seen not only in my life, but also continuing to surround myself with really talented individuals and high performing individuals, and this is why we have this podcast, right? Is that the thing that keeps pointing out is that the people who have been on that are the happiest, that are the most purposeful, that are the most driven, are also the people that are okay with the present moment, that are okay with the transformation that comes from actually taking that pivot and being massively uncomfortable. So this is what I know about human behavior, and this is what I'm seeing. So if you're right now in this place where you feel like you're ready for some type of change, you feel like you're ready for some type of pivot, that's all the information that you actually need. Because if you're able to be still enough to ask more questions of yourself, what does this mean if I'm uncomfortable with this life that I'm living or this relationship to insert whatever that is? What is it about that relationship? If you can be still enough to listen, you actually do have the answers, because in a lot of ways, I got told this a long time ago, so I don't know where it came from, but I bit it and I said it was mine. But in a lot of ways, you are constantly the problem in your life because you're in charge of how you interact, right? It's your behaviors and your rituals that have gotten you to a place that you are that might be uncomfortable. And at the same time, if you're the problem, you're also the solution, which I think is an incredibly empowering thing. So if you're coming to me now and you're like, Des, I'm excited about season 8, or I don't know what to expect for season 8, like who the hell are you going to have on? What the hell is a pivot? we need to go back to, if you feel like you're primed for a change, or if you feel like the life that you're living or the world that you're in or the environment that you're in right now no longer serves you, you are primed for some type of pivot. Now, we have to take care of ourselves through the pivot, and we have to be okay and be open to change, because if you're open to change, then you're also open to adaptation. And if you're open to adapting, you also know the value of what it means to show up for yourself. And these are where these habits come into play, right? How you sleep, how you move, how you eat, and how you think. The pillars of our podcast, if you will. Because those are the things that are going to help and mentor you in a place where you can continue to show up as the most primed, the most energetic, and the healthiest version of yourself. And that's exactly why we're going to have these Mentorship Monday episodes, to make sure that we are pouring into some of the how to get yourself in a place where you're able to recognize that your life might need a pivot in one way or another. Again, in health, in business, and in relationships, whatever that means for you, in performance, whatever that means for you. Because inside of our guests, like I said, we have a ton of talented people, world-renowned authors now, athletes turned entrepreneurs. I'm just really giddy about a lot of the conversations that I was able to have and continue to have, because in a lot of ways, a lot of the guests that I've invited on have also been dream guests for me. And it's also, as you hear it or as you see it, it's also me making sure that I am accountable to my word and I'm practicing what I'm preaching. And one of the things that I said to you in the All-Star episode of season 7 and inside of season 7 was, hey, I feel like I've been holding back a little bit. Maybe this podcast wasn't big enough for me to invite some people that I really wanted to have on. Well, guess what? I'm overcoming that. And so if you yourself are in a place right now where you feel like you're primed for a pivot, you're not really sure what to expect, you understand the values of your habits and your rituals, I hope that this podcast and this premiere and into season 8 really helps you to take advantage of all the things that make you your beautiful self. Because in this process, I am going to be challenging you to start thinking about your environment. And that does mean how you prime your environment for your success, but that also means who you're surrounding yourself with. That's an ongoing theme in this podcast journey, right? It's something that you've heard before. How do you develop grit? You surround yourself with people who are courageous, conscientious, they persevere, they're resilient, and they have passion in anything that they do. Because if you surround yourself with 5 people like that, you are bound to become the 6th. Okay. And so as we get into this season, as you embark on it, as you get into your season, and you know that you're primed for some type of pivot in your life, I want to push you to start overcoming that fear of maybe what is not as known, what is not known, rather, maybe what is fearful. I want to push you to be present in it. Because part of overcoming that fear is being okay with some of the self-doubt that comes up, acknowledging it, and also living through the lens of, wow, I have to be comfortable in my discomfort right now. And that in itself is a complete art form. So what are we going to expect for season 8? We're going to expect some tailored habits and rituals of what it means to grow in certain areas of sleep and nutrition and movement and mindfulness. We're going to be tackling some of what the science says, some of what you can do to apply some of the things that we know that are actually evidence-based. And then in these conversations, we can get reminded that whether or not we're an athlete right now, or maybe once were, or maybe we were talented at one point, like that shit doesn't leave you. That's always inside of you. It's inside of your DNA. And if you've listened up to this point, I think that you can acknowledge that there is a fighter and a competitor in you. And I hope that this season really speaks to that aspect of you and really helps you to honor that aspect so that you can get out and compete in whatever that means in your given season of life. So, ladies and gents, high performers, can't believers, welcome to season 8. I am so excited for you to see what's in store. And to be honest, I'm excited about my systems too, because I don't have to record a podcast day of. I can literally week to week just show up and be like, yo, I love this conversation and this is why I need you to listen. And as always, if you feel like someone could really value from this podcast, please share it. That's how we get to 10,000 episodes. That's how we get to 50,000. That's how we get to 100 and above. But for me, the main goal is continuing to show up for you all. And I'm just so thankful for all of our podcast family, our tribe, of where we've come to this point. And if you've been rocking with me this whole time, I am so thankful for the OGs. And if you're brand new to this, welcome. Welcome to the season of the pivot. Welcome to the season of embracing change. I'm so excited. I'll catch you on the next one. Later.